Today's conversation is with Rolf Structural Integration Certified Advanced Structural Practitioner, Dario Di Lorenzo. Dario is an advanced practitioner of structural integration. He completed his advanced training with Emmett Huthchins and Neal in 2014. These days, Dario is a part of the European Guild for Structural Integration, or EGSI. Talking with Dario is incredibly easy, possibly because his kind and loving heart, or maybe it's the accent. Our talk spreads across different topics, such as how Dario was brought to bodywork, what is the EGSI, a surprise party coming next year, Sharon Wheeler, and more. We really enjoyed our conversation with Dario and are looking forward to more communications and collaborations with him in the future to come. And now, our conversation. Hello, Dario.
Hello.
Sorry. Yeah, it's so nice to see you again. You've never really seen me, but I've seen you because of your videos. So it's really nice to see and to make this new connection. It's been great.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We're excited to talk with you.
I think you better lower your expectations. After Jan Sultan, I think that everything else is going to be very down.
No, I think he will set the precedent for everything to go up. And well, actually, we had some really good talks before. So I don't want to downplay the people we had before too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like it a lot. I've listened all the rest, so
yeah, okay.
I'm enjoying. Yeah, I also like the Ayurvedic guy that went to India. Learn about his personal story, how he's developing bringing Rolf in there. It's also very nice to listen how people use this tool in their life, to make a journey in their life.
Yeah. Dario, I love your accent. I could just listen to you speak. It's great.
I made it on purpose.
All you need to do is have the hands as well.
You don't see the hand in the podcast.
Yeah. One thing for both of us is we don't know a lot about the guild. And so it's really nice to have you on because you are a guild person. And one thing we're really, I think, trying to do in these days is bridge. And the SI as a whole there's many different schools, and we're trying to kind of, and I think you had said it in one way or another in one of the messages, but there is this separation and maybe it doesn't need to be, So I think some people join one school and they think this is the way to be, but we don't really know a lot about the others, and so I think I'd love to hear if you feel comfortable, what is the guild? Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, there are two guilds right now in the world. So there's the original guild, that is the guild that came from the split from the Rolf Institute and the guild, and that's the school where I trained. I trained with Emmett Huthchins, he was living in Hawaii, and I trained with him, and I did they still do the auditing and the practicing, or well, at least they did it when I did my studies. So I did the auditing, practicing, and then I went back once again in Hawaii for the advanced class. And that time was with Neal and Emmett. Then, in the meanwhile, while here in Europe, Alex Urbanzik decided he wanted to start a school. He wanted to start a school because he wanted the Czech Republic to start learning the structural integration. At that time, English was not very much spoken, and the economy in Czech Republic was and still somehow is made in a way that they really cannot afford to do a basic training going in US somewhere. So he started this school with the idea of setting up the language in local language, make it available at a cost that is affordable for the nation they are teaching into, and the other idea was to follow somehow the pattern of the guild, so stick to what we call the recipe. So Dr. Rolf recipe, original recipe, and I can discuss about this if you want later on. So he founded this school and he started teaching. After a few years, he was in contact. Aleš was a student of Emmett, of Peter. He knew all the guild. And at a certain point, he asked, and he wanted to develop this project from just the Czech Republic all over to Europe. And so he changed the name of the school to European Guild for Structural Integration, which is a separate school from the US Guild. Okay. And that is how it started. And then we started a training in Poland. We started a training. Now we have a basic training in Italy, one in Poland, one in Czech Republic, one in Vienna, in Austria. And what else? Did I mention UK? UK is the last one, I think. So that's
besides just geographically, are the schools different? The European Guild versus the one that's in the States? Or
they are different structure. There are different companies, different management, different faculty. Everything is different right now.
But what about the education? Are you still?
Well, what we do in Europe, we decided to follow a modular training format. So we teach the basic training. We teach the basic training with 20 weekends of 3 days. And in these 20 weekends, we have 3 different phases. In one, we do, let's say, more anatomy, some palpation, but we go through the 10 series. It's just the teacher and the assistant as showing it, discussing the principle, discussing what are the anatomical elements, in the second phase, we start doing the exchange practitioner on practitioner, and again, the teacher and the assistant go and show it. And then the last phase is the phase where we have the models coming in. Okay, so I cannot talk at all for the guild right now. If you want to know more about US Guild, you really have to ask to them, because what I can share with you is how I trained in 2011, but I don't know now how the situation is after Emmett has died, Richard Stensel died, so there was a lot of changes in there, so I don't know.
Can you clarify in your module 1, do the students get to experience therapeutic touch in terms of practicing, or are they just observing?
Well, it's impossible to have people sitting around without touching anybody. For those that wants to do our work, we need to have our hands on someone. So what we do is, let's say, we explain anatomy, and then we do palpatory anatomy. And you know how these things are. Even if you're just palpating it finished, that you're doing a session. But you're not doing a session, you're just following the landmarks. For example, you follow all the landmarks of the first session. So you go, I don't know, costal arch, the sternum, where are the clavicles, what's the acromion, let's find the coracoid process, and all of the elements that could be needed during the first session. And so we do exchange, and we use that phase to have the people that comes from a very different background dive into a different type of touch. And we, the assistant and the teacher, we go round and round on the tables, and we let them experience the touch. Of course, a prerequisite for us is that they have received the 10 series before they attend the class.
Sounds like a good program. Sounds very similar to a program I went through. What was it in particular that drew you to the guild as opposed to the institute or anatomy trains or what other course?
Well, that was it really took me a lot of time for me to decide that I wanted to do this work. When I received the 10 series, it was because I was doing psychotherapy in a group with the William Reich approach. So we work on our bodies, and the guy told me, well, I think you should do rolfing. You should try this. So I tried. And after the 10 sessions were finished, I didn't realize what would happen to me, but immediately I realized that after a few months, and I realized that many of my clicks, automatical mechanism, psychological mechanism was or smoothed or simply went away. So I said, there's something in me there. So, and I started, and from there I come from I'm a mathematician. I was working on a software company. I didn't have any anatomical background, so I started building up all the elements that I needed. I think it took something like 7-8 years before I decided, okay, now I'm ready. I want to do the training. And why I choose that? It's again, someone told me. I want to tell you this because I was on holiday. I was on holiday in this little island in Greece, and I was reading books all about holistic approach to human body, to human. And I said to my wife, well, I decided I want to change the work I'm doing. I want to go on this direction. So when we came back from that specific holiday, the moment we landed in Italy, I arrived home, I put the suitcase in the house, I dropped everything. I said, Roberta, I need to go for a walk. So I went, Roberta, she's my wife. I went for this walk. And for the first and last time so far in my life, walking, I met my Rolfer that is living in my same town, but I've never met him before, never met him afterwards. And I met him and said, oh, Franco, I want to talk to you. And I want to become a Rolfer. At that time, I said that. And I said, okay, sit down, let's have a drink and let's discuss. And he told me many things, but mainly what he told me is, I think you should go and learn this from someone that have met either Rolf. You need to go as close as much as you can to the source. And he said he was trained by Peter Melchior when the split wasn't there. So it was part of two different organism. When there was the split, it was still a Gilder and a Rolfer as well. And he told me, look, Peter is no longer here, but you should go with Emmett. And I didn't, at that point, I didn't even look for anything else. So it's not, I choose this school because, I don't know, Rolf Institute or because anatomy train was better or worse. Someone told me and I trust him because I trust his hands. I mean, he really made a difference in my life. It transformed my life. So I trust him.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah. And then for people who are listening that are not familiar, Nikki and I went to the Rolf Institute, so we say Rolfing and Rolfers, and there is now, fortunate or unfortunate, there are trademarks involved. So for people who are tuning in who aren't familiar, would you do the honor explaining the differences between them? Or
well, there's one thing that is very simple, is that when I present myself, I never said that I'm a Rolfer or that I do Rolfing. I simply said I do structural integration, which is the method that Ida Rolf created. And so I said that in Italian. Then of course, I needed to show them the books, and then so the clients keep saying very often they keep calling me Rolfer. Well, they don't call me Rolf, but they say Rolfing is the practice that I'm doing. And I keep reverting to structural integration, but it's too long for them. Even if personally, I find like there's a meaning in those two words that I do like. I like very much the concept of a structure that has been integrated, that is become a whole instead of being a
segmented
set of segmental parts. No, the fact that it's been, I become a whole, I become an integrated person, means that I live in myself from head to toe. It's only one flow. It's only one unique element. That's what I try to achieve now when I work. So that's the main difference from the naming point of view. From the educational point of view, I really don't know, because what I can tell you is that my training was given by Emmett Huthchins, and he was also a teacher of, I think was the first two teachers that Ida Rolf appointed. So I'm guessing that originally the teaching from the Rolf Institute and what I've learned wasn't that different. That's what my guess. You know?
Does the guild, so at the Rolf Institute, we have Rolfing, the structural sessions, and then they have Rolf movement, which incorporates obviously movement. And the Rolf Institute, again, depending on the teacher, but the ideal is the emphasis of weaving movement into the structural sessions, that they're equally as important. I have two questions. Does the guild talk about movement? And then just the way you're talking and the way you're expressing yourself, I can't help but think, yes. And the inquiry that got you into the work, William Wright, you had mentioned, which sounds kind of like a somatic psychotherapy where you're using movement to explore thoughts. I don't know much about William Wright, so I'm kind of asking.
I can tell you something about that. Well, when I went to the guild, so this is the American Guild, to learn what has been what was part of the basic training. Of course, is the movement you do during the sessions. So I'm assuming that the movement training also in the Rolf Institute is something that is different from that. No. Then my personal interest, but I think most of the teachers I'm working with in European Guild are really very much into movement. So, for example, Alesh is teaching yoga. Julio was a dancer. So movement is really part of what we do like to know. And we have had Mary Bond as a guest teacher for us, and she has taught in our basic training in Milan, for example. So we do like to incorporate movement within the practice.
So it's integrated. It's not kind of this separate thing of...
No. It's integrated. We don't have a specific program for movement. We don't have that. Going back to your question about William Wright, I mean, I'm going to very, very superficially going to mention that William Reich was working with Freud, and from Freud it was assigned the target to develop what was called the clinic, so a way to progress with patients on a daily basis. And he came up with this concept that whatever is your trauma, the trauma that you have is there from before you started talking, you cannot articulate verbally. That trauma is in your body. And so it's like a wound, a scar that is in your body. And the first thing you need to do is to somehow bring it up into your consciousness, into your awareness. And you do that by some sort of movement, some sort of putting stress in that. So if you put stress in the body, the tension will come up, and you will have a way to explore and then dissolve the trauma. That's more or less the idea. Then there is all around a lot of things about what we call the character armor. Do you understand?
We say it would be like body armoring.
Body armoring, yeah, okay. Body armoring. So there are different type of body armoring according to when your trauma is. The earlier, the worse. The later, the best. The simpler, I would say.
And there's I think, I'm not sure whether it's speculation or known, but Ida Rolf had been studying Reiki and bioenergetics and this body armoring. And I think that was, I mean, listening to what you just said here and then listening to what we had Jan last week, and Jan was talking about the stressor of the body. I mean, that to me goes hand in hand, where you are stressing the body as a way to bring about a change. And so that thought I hear pretty tied in. And you studied Gestalt therapy as well. Did you study Gestalt, or you were doing workshops?
Well, I was doing some workshops on Rolf, on Gestalt therapy, but I'm not very much into the theory. I study much more the Reichian therapies rather than the Gestalt therapy. I've done very many works with Gestalt therapists.
But you prefer the Reichian?
No, it's not a matter of preferences. It's like I think there are two aspects of this. One is that whatever approach you use, you decide to use for yourself. The big difference is the therapist. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky enough to have two big therapists, both Reichian and Gestalt. I was fascinated by the approach to the body of Reich. That's what really got me into then this work, because I think the work we do in structural integration, it's a great approach to realign all the bodies that are in my body. So my psyche, my soul, my emotions, my thoughts, my muscles, my fascia, my organs. So if all of these bodies are aligned, I'm more present to myself. I'm present in the world, and it's easy to say present, but presence is really what make us as therapists bring or evoke a change in our clients. I never think that is my hand, only my hand that is doing the work. Is I think it's a combination of my hands working, as Jan Sultan was saying, working this ankle and thinking that knee and the hip, but also thinking to the person and staying in my body and feeling what's happening and be there. So that's why, for example, I really have as a mission. I keep on studying, keep on working on me, keeping on challenging me from different points of view in order to try to smooth out all my angles. So many, so much.
Yeah. I relate 100%. My girlfriend will always say, well, another class. And I think, yeah, there's just so much I want to keep learning and I want to, my blind spots, I want to keep getting rid of. My dirty spots in the windows, I want to clean those and keep cleaning them. There's so much, always more to go if you want to. So I relate 100% with you there. And both of us at Touching into Presence love your way that you described presence, because that's a big part of what we're all about.
Yes, I kind of just got lost in your sharing. Yeah. It felt like I was going on my own little somatic presence journey.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things about you, Dario, that I was so drawn into is the presence that you carry. And for some people, they might be born with that. But my guess is because of the work you've done on yourself and continue to do is why people who are just tuning in and listening to you will already have that sense of a grounding of ascensionness, because I don't know how much has to do with mirror neurons, right? So you hear something and you respond within that, but there is the work that you do in yourself is clear to us. So keep it up.
I'm curious to just go with, because the passion that you're bringing or sharing, it's intriguing with considering what the profession that you were in before. And looking back, like for myself, I was a communications major in college. And when I chose to go to become a Rolfer, it felt like a very different path. But now that I can look back, the classes I took in college kind of make sense. I mean, my communications major it was quite broad at the university I went to, but I studied a lot of nonverbal communication and human communication styles. And later in my training and, learning how to body read and just kind of witnessing somebody in front of me, I was like, oh, wow, my college education wasn't a waste. So I'm curious, especially with people who have made these kind of great changes, what was maybe in your past life that you could see how it sent you in this journey?
I don't know exactly. I know that there's something I'm still doing that I was doing before. Was working. The simplest way to describe it is that I was a program manager. So I was coordinating big projects where you have many teams dislocated all over the world, and I was bridging them, creating connection, facilitating the connection from one point to the other. So that's what I did like at that time, and somehow in my present position, I feel like I love to do this type of work also for the European Guild from Structural Integration. And when I'm working with a person, with a client, somehow I think that I'm facilitating, relating something to something. So is this some sort of ability that I have in myself and to create connections between parts. That's something that is common, even if the work is completely different.
Yeah, I mean, when you sent your information about what you had done, and I again resonated so well with it because my background was I was a network engineer. I did systems administration, and when I would meet people, they'd say, how would you go from computers into bodywork, it's so different. And in my mind, it was systems. It's looking like, so I hear you saying project management. It makes a lot of sense to me. Project management is having to juggle 20 balls at a time, but looking at that straight ahead way of how you make everything work. And I mean, in some ways, Ida Rolf was a great project manager. She found a way to say, okay, we have this project of the human, but we have all these separate parts. How do we get this in so that the end product can be as optimal and as quick as possible? Because you could do a 50 session thing, and she, I think from what I gathered, she sort of made many different iterations to get to the 10 series. She had an 8 series and an 11 and this and that. But yeah, she was a project manager. I can totally hear your how your background could easily tie in. And it's one of the things I loved about the Rolfing or structural integration or any of these types of bodywork practices is that people come in with different backgrounds and can bring in what they know, and it can all relate, and we
can relate. That's the point that we can, and I'm gesturing, is that we really can relate. We are so different one another. If I think about the school where I'm working, in the European Guild, we are so different one another. We did this little test of writing down our background and how we felt our first 10 series. And so we exchanged these emails, and we went from poetry to mathematical approach to everyone was express this let me call it initiation process of the 10 series with such a variety of points of view and perception. But at the same time, there was something in common in there, that we started a journey of embodiment that was made so clearly distinctive by Ida Rolf, and that's what we have in common, regardless of the school we are from. So we really need to value each other and this diversity we have in our schools.
Curious, in Europe, how well known is structural integration? I mean, I live in Boulder, Colorado, where this all started, and I'm still amazed how a lot of people that I run into don't really know what it is or heard about it. So it's still kind of this little small therapeutic.
It's a very small niche. It's really not well known at all. And on this, I would like that all the school would spend more in marketing to the clients rather to the students, because it is true that this is a work. The work we do, I don't think it's a work for everyone. So somehow it always will be probably not how do you say, a mass
appeal.
Yeah, mass appeal. It would not be a mass appeal approach for people, but anyhow, this type of approach was so much more known in early 80s or 90s than it is right now. So it's like we are dispersing a value that we have instead of making it more known. It's less and less known. That's my feeling. That's my personal feeling. In Italy, but then it depends. In Italy, we have, I think, between different schools, we might have probably around 120 person. If you go to Munich, I think only Munich could be more than 120 person doing the structural integration. So it really changes on depending on where you go, who you talk. So, for example, in Czech Republic, even if it's not very much known, people that are working are getting a lot of referrals. So that's the way we develop our market, with referrals. And it's true. It's my clients arrive because someone else talks about me. And I guess also in your practice is like that. No, you start somehow and with your friends, and after a while you have people you never met. You don't know where they come from, and you don't advertise. You don't have you have a website, but it's not from there that the clients come.
Yeah, I definitely think in our work, opposed to maybe a physical therapist or a chiropractor, practice building really does come from word of mouth, majority.
Yeah, there's like a lot of, there's sort of a quasi saying of like when nobody else can help you, then turn to the Rolfers. So a lot of people they'd see an acupuncturist, a physio, a chiro, and then eventually one of the, they wouldn't get what they needed, and one of them would say, oh, you should go see this guy, he's a Rolfer, or this girl, she's a Rolfer, and that's when they would get the help. So it is, I know a few Rolfers who get their referrals from chiropractors, or they even work in chiropractic offices because they get the referrals there, because the chiro can only do so much, which is kind of amazing because they have a 4-year education here, but they're missing that integrative approach. I believe in the Rolf Institute Europe division, which is in Munich, which is why there's I think a lot of people there. A lot of the Rolfers, when I looked on their website, were all physios. A lot of them were physios and osteopaths, which I thought was really interesting. So it looked like they had studied what they'd studied and then were looking for a little more and then became Rolfers. And that's how I played it. Because I was working in Europe a bit and I was looking for Rolfers. And like in Vienna, most of the Rolf Institute Rolfers all were osteos or physios, which was very different than in the US. I don't know with the guild in Europe if it's the same or not.
We have different backgrounds. At least the class in Milano, what we're doing in Milano, we have very different backgrounds. I think we have some massage therapists, no physios though. But I'm sure that I met some physios in Prague when I went to Prague and Poland. So it's, it's mixed crowd, really mixed backgrounds.
Yeah. I want to hear a little bit. You had mentioned there's a big celebration coming up next year for a few things. Would you like to talk about the party?
Yeah. That's something really. That's what I'm doing with my project manager background. So I'm trying to coordinate to help support the school to coordinate this big event that we wanted to create. So next year is going to be the 10th anniversary of our school, and at the same time it's going to be the 125th anniversary of Dr. Rolf's birth. So we wanted to celebrate this somehow specially. So we put up 6 days of workshop, all dedicated to the recipe. So imagine that in the first day you will go with session 1, second day session 2 and 3, third day 4 and 5, and so on. The last day you will have the session 10. So in the morning we will do lectures around this session, and in the afternoon we're going to do workshops. We're going to do workshops, and people will have the opportunity to work with David Davis, Neal Powers, and Elsie Silveira, which are 3 very senior in terms of knowledge person that also have met Dr. Rolf. I don't think Nancy, but for sure David and Neal. And then there will be the rest of the faculty, so Alex Urbanski, Adam Polanski, Fulvio Faudella, and myself. And so you will have the opportunity to listen to the lecture, go into the workshop, and have an experience of exchanging work on one day. Then the other day you will have what we call the gems of structural integration, a workshop on a gems, another workshop on what we call the philosophy of structural integration. And if you're not finished when the day is over, we'll also have some sort of aperitivo with our friends. We hope that we can invite some other friends from US. Who knows? I'm not anticipating any name, but we would like to do like a very informal beer and chat with some senior friends supporting the discussion about some topic. Very, very informal, free format. That would be free format. And that's what we're doing. And I think it's gonna, what I thought is, we would like to do something that we want to attend to. And personally, I don't like very much those events where there are workshops that are not combined together. And so we have created one unique flow. So it's like, again, we wanted to create an integrated event and not a series of elements put together like a salad. But we wanted to create a soup.
I love it. It's like the 10 series. It's one session broken into 10.
Yeah, 1 to 10. And it's in Prague. If you don't know, if you have never been in Prague, you need to come. It's
lovely.
Yeah,
I love Prague. Czech Republic's great. So it's still being planned. You don't have too much.
It's going to be published in a couple of days or in a few days. We're going to publish. We finished the logo. We're going to publish soon. And there's also a little bit another surprise for this that do you know John Lodge, which is the person that drew all the drawings in the Rolfing book? Have you ever noticed that? So John Lodge is this guy that made all the drawings in Ida Rolf's book, and so it happens that. We have received some documentation, original documentation made from John Lodge. So we are now taking this material and we want to create something, a little something we would like to give also during that event. And he was an original, clearly he was an original teacher from Ida Rolf. Is the guy that made all the drawings, most of the discussion he had with Ida Rolf. So this is something is going to be available. So we are creating something with this material for that event.
Is he the illustrator for the little boy logo?
I don't think so. I'm not sure that he did also the logo. For sure, he did all the anatomical drawings in the book. Any anatomical drawing has got this signature from John Lodge, and he's the guy.
I like that. So you have like a sort of incentive, a special thing. If you come now, you will also get this special John Lodge.
No, I'm so thrilled because what I'm doing right now is I'm typing from his handwritten notes to Word document, and you cannot imagine how beautiful it is to see this piece of paper with the date in the past, like 81 or 79 or 72, and be able to think that, okay, this guy met Dario Rolf and study with him, and he prepared the book with her, and if write things that are, for example, today I transcript this and I sent to the guys that are studying with our basic training, because I think it was amazing. It was there was one little note in this page. He wrote, "Be willing to be confused, uncertain, elated. Stay in the moment. Forgive yourself. Love yourself." And when I read these, I said, okay. So my heart, like, boom, exploded. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want this type of teachers. I want this type of messages. I'm being granted the privilege of not being sure, but also be elated and forgive myself and love myself. Okay, it's good. Good to know that there was a teacher like that now in our lineage. That's where we come from. And that's why we would like to do something to honor him as a way, I think, to honor all the teachers of our lineage.
Well, I think that's beautiful. But I think it's very poignant too in the state of the world right now. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think we could probably speak to you so much, just partly because of your presence. But what I would like to know from you, Dario, is Sharon Wheeler.
Personally, to you, Andrew, I saw that you wanted to do a training with Sharon, and I strongly recommend you do that, because Sharon is she's really a special woman. I've arranged for her in Milan. She's got different classes. She does scar work, tail end, cranium, and bone work. And so this year, before our lockdown, we had planned that this class was the last of her series here in Milano, and we had to cancel that. But she has this amazing way of entering in the body and talking to different layers, different type of tissue from the scar to the bone. And she gave me the varieties of the touch that I needed. So I'm extremely thankful to her. And you live in US, you go whenever she has a class, go and meet her. She's really amazing. And she will tell a lot of story of Dario Rolf too. She likes to talk very much, so you'll enjoy also that part.
Nice. Yeah, I'm hoping to at some point. You know, there's so many classes. You know, you were saying how the work you're doing yourself. I have so many classes I still want to take. She's on my list. We'll see when the times arrive for that.
Yeah, and you have to share stories about the SLM massage, because she was teaching in the 70s SLM massage, and she met Fritz Perls. She was she also writes something for him, and she has so much stories. She's a wonderful, wonderful person.
Yeah, well, that point in the 70s, what was happening at Esalen is just mind blowing. Yeah, to think about who and what and how that all sort of was is it's pretty amazing. I mean, Jan talked a little bit about it last week, but there's so much more. Just you couldn't even get those type of people, I think, in the same room nowadays. They were just all intermixing, and it was the place to be.
I feel like I'm still riding on what you shared with I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
John Lodge.
Yeah, I'll listen to the podcast, but I plan on listening and writing that down. I mean, it's kind of hard. I think I think it's blowing my heart up a little bit. it's kind of hard to I want to feel that without being engaged with the computer. I just feel like those are some powerful words.
I feel like that's a great way to actually sort of leave it in the spirit of Rolfing, which is that sometimes it's like we want to do a little more, right? We have something done and we're like, oh, well, maybe if I just do one more thing, but actually everything is really covered. Everything is great. We don't need to talk about anything else. We can say, okay, this is a great space to leave it, and let's let it manifest. Let's let it bloom. Let's let that little seed that Dario planted grow out even more, which is what happens a lot in the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll say our little goodbyes here.
I know it's late, probably your time, right? So thank you.
Yeah. Late, you have exciting Friday night plans, having a call with people in the U.S.
And for me, it's exciting. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it very much.
Same. Well, we are so grateful for your time and your knowledge, and we will be in touch in other ways, we're sure, in the future to come.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dario.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you again.
Buonasera.
Buonasera. Ciao.
Ciao.
You can find more about Dario at rolfmi.it and more information about the European Guild of Structural Integration at rolfguild.eu. You can see our liner notes for the exact spelling of that if there's any questions. And again, we really want to thank Dario for his time and love and care, and we look forward to our next talk to come. If you're enjoying listening to these podcasts, we'd appreciate if you'd leave comments on either Apple Podcasts or your podcast provider. And if there's information you'd like to hear, please let us know. You can send us messages. We're happy to try to build and grow the conversations. Thank you all, and wishing you a beautiful day out there.